Can we be seated, please? You know, I'm not nice. I just go be seated. Hi, everybody. Hi. My name is Sahar. I'm signing. My sign name is... I'm just giving you more inclusion, you know, although it's not about sign language. So I'm happy that you are here today to celebrate the Braille. We have a very nice panel, so I will be very short so we don't run out of time. I would give the floor first to Sotirius, who is the vice president of our network. So please, Sotirius, you have the floor, and you can all be seated. You don't need to come here. It's only for me. You stay there. Thank you.
Thank you, Sahar. Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, distinguished guests, dear friends. I have the honor today to welcome you here in the name of the UN Disability Inclusion Network here in the Vienna International Centre. "2,000 years ago, a tragedy happened in the Aegean Sea. A ship sank and its passengers found themselves in the sea, swimming for their lives. Well, they were all swimming except for one, who instead of swimming was shouting, 'Goddess Athena, help us.' This guy was about to die, so the other ones grabbed him, hauled him to the surface, and started yelling at him, 'Is Athena ke chiragini,' which is ancient Greek and actually means, 'Pray to Goddess Athena, but move your hands too.' In our lives, we often see things that are wrong. But we hope that somebody else will fix it. And we just pray for that somebody else will do something about it. That could be authorities, religious institutions, or other people. But maybe we should sometimes move our own hands too and do something about it, because that's the only way of getting things better. And this is what we started doing here in the Vienna International Centre with our Disability Inclusion Network. Because we are in reality just colleagues who are affected by disabilities, either directly or indirectly through family members. So we started as a peer support group, but very fast realized that actually, on the one hand, there are a lot of us who are affected, much more than one would think. And on the other hand, that there's so many things that have to be improved. While we are doing our best to make sure that nobody is left alone, we are at the same time very happy and proud that we have the support of our friends and allies, our own organizations here in the VIC. We saw that very nicely last February during the Zero Project Conference here in the M building, where the heads of our organizations came and visited us and publicly stated that they support disability inclusion. Moreover, we have the support of our staff councils. And at that point, please allow me to thank the UNOF Staff Welfare Board, the CTBTO Staff Council, and the UNIDO Staff Union for supporting us with a coffee break that we will enjoy in about 1.5 hours later. So it is true, if we start moving our hands, we can make a difference, even if we are few. And sometimes just one person alone can already make a big difference. And a good example for this is my wonderful colleague, Sahar, who organized the event today. And with these words, I want to thank you and hand over to Sahar.
Thank you very much, Sotirios, for your kind words. I just want to mention something before I forget, that we printed the program of yesterday and today in Braille. So if you don't have a copy, I have still copies, and we print them at a specialized Druckerei, which he's doing this translation from the normal character to Braille. So yeah, if you need examples, let me know. Now I will give the floor to Dennis. Dennis, he's our Deputy Director General. He's also the Director of, for Management at the UNOF, United Nations Office in Vienna. And he's in charge, among others, of financial resources management, human resources management, information and communication. And Dennis has been always a friend of our network. He was always supportive. I remember when I made the mug, the first mug, I just went to his office with open hands. He was very welcoming, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Dennis.
Thank you, Sahar, for your kind words. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, dear colleagues and friends. It is an honor for me to be here today. Let me begin by extending my thanks to the Disability Inclusion Network for organizing this important event, and to our esteemed guests for joining us. Disability inclusion is a core value of the United Nations, and it is essential for achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. We have made significant progress, but there is still much to be done to ensure that our workplace and our world are fully inclusive. I'm delighted to see our collaboration with the Disability Inclusion Network in the UN grow more and more. In 2023, UNOF, UNODC, and the network conducted 4 training sessions on disability inclusion, organized events to showcase workplace adaptability, and celebrated the International Day for Persons with Disabilities in collaboration with the other VBOs. At the beginning of this year, UNOF UNODC joined a Disability Inclusion Pledge campaign, and our Director General, Executive Director Gada Wali, made a powerful pledge herself towards a more inclusive workplace at UNODC, demonstrating our continued commitment to this vital cause. Today's event, focusing on Braille, is a crucial step in our journey. Understanding and adopting Braille is not just about learning a new language. It's about breaking down barriers and fostering an inclusive environment for everyone. We are privileged to hear from Ms. Vappereau, who will share her personal experiences and insights, accompanied by her guide dog, Olips. Our efforts to promote disability inclusion will continue to evolve, driven by our commitment to ensure that no one is left behind. I urge all of you to actively participate in these initiatives. Your engagement is vital to creating a more inclusive and supportive workplace. Inclusion is a shared responsibility. Together, we can create an environment where everyone feels valued and empowered. I'm confident that with our collective efforts, we will continue to make significant strides towards a more inclusive and equitable world. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward to the insightful discussions and contributions from our distinguished speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Before giving the floor to Her Excellency Delphine Puesa, I just want to thank, because I have my chief, and it's not to be bling bling, really. I want to thank my chief and Ragda and Ahed from CMS for the support. Honestly, I have 2 kids. The second one is autistic, and when it comes to autistic, he's like 100 kids, like woo! So I'm very happy and thank you for your support. Thank you so much. So now I will give the floor to Her Excellency Delphine Puesa. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Sahar. Dear colleagues and friends, I would like to start by expressing my gratitude to the organizers of this very important event. I feel privileged to be with you today and to be given the opportunity to say a few words on this wonderful tool that delivers both literacy and independence, the Braille alphabet. This tactile writing system with salient points was invented in the 1820s by Louis Braille, a French teacher for the use of blind or severely visually impaired people. Braille code, as we all know, is a writing system which enables blind and partially sighted people to read and write through touch. Braille consists of patterns of raised dots arranged in cells of up to 6 dots, and each cell represents a Braille letter, numeral, or punctuation marked, and some frequently used words and letter combinations also have their own single-cell patterns. I think this was a truly fantastic and creative invention. Up to now, 33 languages have been transcribed into 137 different Braille codes, representing their alphabets and punctuations. I am sure Aliénor will explain to us how it works concretely and how it contributes to multilingualism too, which is one of the objectives of the United Nations as well. And if you happen to go to Marseille, I highly recommend you go to the garden of Puget Hill to admire the Braille statue. Erected in 1952, it is a tribute paid from the blind people of Provence to their benefactor Louis Braille. The white stone bust on a stone column with a grey marble plaque features an inscription in gold ink and Braille with the design of a hand. Beyond this brief historical introduction to an invention that is a pride and joy of France, please allow me to quickly add a few more general remarks. First, I would like to certainly commend the action of the Disabled Inclusion Network and of the Division for Management of UNOV, which previous speakers have presented. And on this, I would wish to underline France's strong commitment to progressing in ensuring the inclusion of people with disabilities in societies and in particular in working environments, in ministries and public services, for example. Since 2005, an ambitious and proactive policy has been implemented in France in the different ministries and in the government's services to change the way people view disability and to facilitate the inclusion of people with disabilities in the world of work. In the MFA, for example, a handful of important measures were taken. A special team was set up to monitor the situation of our disabled colleague. Training is given to other colleagues to help them take better account of disability in different work situations and to make them aware of the issues involved in accessibility as a whole, whether physical or digital. And an action plan has been developed for the recruitment and the integration of disabled colleagues. Finally, and I promise I'll stop there for the moment, I wouldn't want to conclude this brief intervention without a word on the 2024 Paris Olympics and Paralympics, which are now so close. The Paralympic Games will kickstart on the 28th of August and will host 15,000 athletes. Goalball, by the way, will be one of the 23 disciplines of the Paralympics. This is not new, but this was certainly important because this sport, which has been specially designed for visually impaired athletes, needed to feature again prominently on the program of the sporting events. What will be new at the Games in Paris will be the availability of devices, audio guides, touchscreen tablets, for example, that will enable visually impaired spectators to experience the emotion of the games just as fully as the other spectators. And this, in the 21st century, was the least we could do. And with this, I thank you for your kind attention, and I really look forward to hearing more from other speakers on Braille, on achievement made so far, and how best we can continue to progress in making our world a more inclusive and diversity-friendly place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Dennis, are you leaving now? Dennis, are you leaving? Okay, because I will make a selfie before you leave. That's what I was saying. Okay, I will give the floor now to Anne Kempijen. Miss Anne Kempijen, I hope I pronounced the family name correctly. She is the head of UN section at the EU delegation. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's a real pleasure to greet all of you on behalf of the European Union, and I would like to start by thanking the UN Disability Inclusion Network for inviting the European Union to this event. You are doing important work in promoting the inclusion of all staff members, including those with disabilities and their families, and raising awareness and also insisting, rightly so, on more equality, more participation, and more access. The European Union, we consider ourselves as champions to promoting rights of people with disabilities, because non-discrimination is one of the EU's fundamental principles, and this non-discrimination principle guides all our policies and actions, whether it's our internal policies or our external action. And we are committed to combating all forms of discrimination on any ground. What is also perhaps interesting to mention that European Union, although we are not a state, we are party to an important UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, CRPD, and we encourage, of course, everyone, all UN member states, to join this important convention and faithfully and fully implement their obligations under this convention. But today, I would like to take the opportunity to share with you some of the measures that my employer, this is European External Action Service in Brussels, EEAS, the so-called diplomatic service, the EU's foreign ministry, has taken to make our institution more inclusive and promote full and effective participation of all people with disabilities within the service. And I very much hope that some of these measures that I will share with you will also serve as an inspiration to the Disability Inclusion Network and also to the UN office at Vienna. The EEAS, the European External Action Service, is a relatively new institution, less than 15 years old. So we started the development of the EEAS disability policy at a rather late stage in 2018, but we have made very quick progress after that. As a first step, we developed a roadmap for action on disability. And this is really a great document, and I will leave a copy here, and I hope you will make good use of it, because it contains concrete actions, targets, and guidelines to be implemented. And this document, 35 pages, it's also updated annually to improve constantly improve the EES working environment. Basically, there are measures in four broad areas. One is provision of reasonable accommodation for persons with disabilities. The second is accessibility to buildings, work environment and information. Third is awareness raising about disabilities and available structures. And the fourth is facilitation of the occupational integration of people with disabilities. And to give you some concrete examples how we are implementing this roadmap, for example, in 2021, a concrete decision was taken to provide reasonable accommodation for all officials, temporary agents and contract staff with disability, including the provision of adaptive technology like Braille, keyboard, or specific screens for colleagues with visual or hearing impairments. Regarding the accessibility of buildings for persons with disabilities, we have developed special accessibility fact sheets for more than 140 delegations around the world, incorporating also the option to use screen readers for persons with visual impairments. Another example is that we have implemented measures to combat stereotypes, prejudice and harmful practices that could affect persons with disabilities. And one such interesting measure is the Guide on Inclusive Communication, which offers tips for communicating with people with visual or hearing impairments in work situations and day-to-day life. And finally, to round all this up, we have most recently, last year, launched a comprehensive agenda for diversity and inclusion. This is the very first strategy of my organization that addresses all grounds of discrimination in a comprehensive manner, and it's accompanied by an action plan for diversity and inclusion in the workplace. So with this, I would like to leave with you three documents: this agenda for diversity and inclusion, the Guide on Inclusive Communication, and most importantly, the comprehensive roadmap for action on disability. And I very much hope that these actions will serve as a further inspiration to all of us to improve inclusion and inclusive workplace here at the UN and also in your countries. And I thank again for your attention and interest and for inviting the EU to speak at this event. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kemppainen. Now I would like to give the floor to my mentor, Martin. Please, Martin, you have the floor. Martin is the director of the information service, UNIS. And when my son was kicked from kindergarten because they thought he cannot be like other kids, I was really, you know, Martin was one of the few who was really pushing me and saying, yeah, don't worry, it will be fine. You will see, he will surprise you, he will make university. And back then I was like, ah. And now I'm more positive, and thank you for your support. You have the floor.
Well, that's very nice of you. Thank you so much, Zaha. And we've heard really inspiring remarks already from our previous speakers, so I will keep my remarks short. And particularly, it's really interesting to hear both how one member state and a collection of member states really working in a practical manner to really help everyone to feel included and to be able to contribute productively in all parts of our lives and society. And as we've heard, Braille is absolutely central. Literacy in Braille not only increases access to education and allows for that fuller participation in society, but it also helps create and increase chances of employment. And so I think in this context, and we have a really good turnout here of colleagues from across the UN system today, as we did yesterday. So it's really helping to raise awareness about this particular topic among society in general, but amongst the UN community in particular. And we, from the UN Information Service, will certainly continue to do our very best to contribute to those efforts. And we really look forward, I certainly look forward, and I think we all do, to hearing from Ms. Vappereau. And thank you for being here and to tell us more and teach us more about your experiences and the use of the Braille alphabet. And we also have Erich Schmitz here, a teacher who is very familiar with working with school children in particular, in his work at the Association of the Blind and Visually Impaired. And finally, I think it will be interesting also to hear from Robin Weiss, a good friend and colleague from the Zero Project. He can tell you himself about his own organization that he works for, but simply to say that we do cooperate very closely with the Zero Project. And we have a good example of that right now. There is a huge piece of art, a huge street art painting being painted on one of the big towers here at the Vienna International Centre. We can already describe it, and I know that the artist himself is providing a visual description of that artwork. It's a woman with a dove, and there is more that Fintan will explain in his visual description. But we were very conscious from the outset that we wanted to make this artwork, which will be the largest mural in Vienna, and according to some people, the largest in Austria. But I don't want to make myself a hostage to fortune. So the largest in Vienna is already good. But it is not, at the moment, accessible for those who are blind or with a visual impairment. But on Friday, that will change, thanks to our work with the Zero Project and their kind support for a tactile board, which will be very close to the artwork and will allow those with a visual impairment to experience the art in a tactile form, plus to read through Braille about the artwork. And so thank you so much to all of you, and we will continue to work as closely as we can with our friends and colleagues from the Disability Inclusion Network. You do a fabulous job, and we're very happy to support you wherever we can. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martin. I will give the floor now to Robin. Robin is a friend, and he's a director of International Affairs at Zero Project. You have the floor, Robin.
Thank you, Sahar, and good afternoon to all the friends of DIN, because I think everyone here in the room is a friend of the DIN network, and really glad to see the turnout, not only today, but as Martin and Sahar mentioned also yesterday. My name is Robin Tim Weiss, and for those of you who can perhaps hear me but not see me, I'm a white male in his mid-30s, wearing a dark blue suit, white dress shirt, slightly light blue tie, receding hairline, because that's what happens as you age. I'm now in my mid-30s, and I'm seated together with all the other speakers on an elevated podium in a half-circle conference room, which I always say feels like I'm stuck in a 1970s Bond movie.
Thank you, Robin.
So I think the best way to start today's event is to kind of recap something which Judy Heumann once said. And for those of you who are not familiar with Judy Heumann, she was referred to as the godmother of the disability advocacy movement in the United States. And Judy once said that disability only becomes a tragedy when society fails to provide for the things that we need to lead, for the things we need to live our lives. And I think that really hits the nail on the head, that disability has never been the problem. It's the barriers in society that remain the problems. And this is an understanding which we also share at the Zero Project. And if I could get the PowerPoint on the screen, I would love to briefly talk about what we do at the Zero Project for those of you not familiar. So we share the same home city with you all, in that we're based here in Vienna, Austria, but operate globally across all continents and across all disabilities. And what we have done since 2013 is build up an international network of persons with and without disabilities who come together and recognize solutions that remove barriers for persons with disabilities. So our name, Zero Project, the Zero stands for our overall mission and goal, which is a world with zero barriers. So hopefully one of these days, hopefully sooner rather than later, I become unemployed. I would see that as the greatest achievement of my life if I become unemployed, because it means we then have achieved a world with zero barriers. So what this network of 10,000 plus experts do on a daily basis and on an annual basis is come together to identify and highlight solutions, so real solutions that have been implemented. So nothing, no white paper, no publications, nothing aspirational. Hey, we wish we could do this, maybe we could do that, maybe by 2030 we could do this, but to really highlight what persons with disabilities have already done throughout the world, the barriers they have removed throughout the world. And today's session is titled Introduction to Braille, so I figured why not show some of those solutions which the Zero Project community has awarded in the past. And there are quite some interesting ones here in the room. So imagine all of you love color, the nuance of color. Oh, the wine is maroon red as I swirl it, or I just brought a fantastic new blazer. It has this almost forest green color. But how do you transmit color in Braille? This is something which the Romanian organization Script or Alphabet has asked itself, and they have come up with the first universal color standardization in Braille. And what you see on the PowerPoint is a dial which looks similar to the face of a clock, where each dial has a different color: white, red, yellow, blue, so on and so forth, with different alterations of Braille. And as our former speaker, Her Excellency Mrs. Poiset, mentioned, Braille does come in a variety of distinctions and dots, and so they were able to standardize a universal color code in Braille. The same can be said for our recent awardee from Sensi from the United States, which has developed an artificial intelligence tool that is able to convert educational material into Braille with high accuracy and speed. So, today, thanks to Sahar's effort, we have these wonderful brochures in front of us, but now imagine an educational textbook in mathematics or in physics, 300, 400 pages thick. That takes a while to translate and to convert into Braille. But thanks to Sensi, that process has been sped up exponentially, driving down cost and driving up, of course, accessibility, as more books are able to be printed and go to print faster and at a much lower cost for everyone. And the final solution I wanted to highlight, and again, this is only a snapshot of over 900 solutions from 120 countries we've awarded since 2013, is elections for all. So the idea that also, and especially in the Global South, elections should be made accessible for all. We're in the year of elections, supposedly, never in history have there been so many elections as this year. So that's why it's great to highlight that, quote unquote, even in places such as Burkina Faso, you can have not only inclusive election guides, but Braille ballots, and also highlight how legislative bodies can hire persons with disabilities. And you would be surprised how further advanced Burkina Faso is than Austria in this regard. And that brings me to the last slide and point, which is a photo. And for those of you with keen eyes, you can recognize the blue curtains. That's the M1 room in the M building, right here in your own office and building. So if this sparked your interest and you said, I want to understand what persons with disabilities have innovated on, what not only the challenges are, and we can talk a lot about the challenges, but what the solutions are that persons with disabilities have been putting forward on all continents throughout the world, then I encourage you to either take out your phone or your physical calendar right now and put down the dates: Wednesday, March 5, 2025 through Friday, March 7, 2025. That is when our Zero Project annual conference will happen again. And here's a photo from this year in February, where we welcomed some 1,400 participants from 100 countries. So to really highlight the innovation which is within the international disability community, and to highlight a space and give a space of meaning, dignity, and innovation for persons with and without disabilities, where we can come together, learn from each other, and under the principle of do not reinvent the wheel, learn from each other and replicate those good practices that do exist around the world. It's not a question of are they innovating for the blind or the visually impaired in Africa. They are. And it is our job to highlight that, to provide a platform, and for others to learn from that. And I'd love to maybe close on the point, you know, the title does say Introduction to Braille, but not all visually impaired and blind people use Braille. So whenever you do encounter a person with disability, ask them how they like to communicate, how they prefer to communicate. Every person has unique strengths, and I think it's really the most interesting part of my work to find out those unique strengths and to meet the person, as they say in German, auf Augenhöhe, with respect and dignity. And I think that, at the end of the day, is what DIN is doing, showing to the diverse UN staff community here that it is through dignity that we all proceed and that we all have a better tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. This is the applause in sign language. Yes, go ahead, go ahead.
Make some noise.
Yeah. Thank you, Robin. And I just want to say, you're right. You know, first of all, if one is disabled, we should focus on how to make things better, not just, I'm so poor, life is bad. We should just be positive, because if we are disabled and we are negative, then what do we expect from other people? So we have to say, okay, it is that way, but I can still do 1, 2, 3. I am able of doing many other things better than other people. So we have to be positive in our head. And I'm really blessed, and I think many of us, to have very wonderful colleagues here through the building. I see many nice faces. Thank you, Dr. Lademan, to be here with us today. Because as you know, when we, family of parents of disabled kids, we need to go through medical for administrative stuff. So thank you for your support and for making things easy for us. And now I will give the floor to my friend Eric. Eric, he's from the Blindenverband, from the Association of, how do you say it in English? Of blind and visually impaired. And Eric, he was an IT teacher and a chess teacher. Eric, you have the floor, please.
Thank you. Well, I thought, I'm thinking, what can I tell you? And I think the most important thing is what I am doing, how I'm living in a world where inclusion has begun. I cannot say inclusion has come to its end. And I think I will tell you about 3 days in my life: yesterday, today, and tomorrow. These are not, this happens not every 3 days in my life. I wouldn't stand it. It's too hard. But I think you can get a good overview what is, even for a blind person, as I am, possible today, and how many directions you can already go. As Sahar said, I'm a teacher at the School for the Blind in Vienna in the 2nd district. And yesterday, I had not been in the classroom, but with the students, we went to the University Sports Institute. And there has been a project, and it's called Smart Sports Assistance. Today we heard about the Paralympics, and in this project, in Austria we have HTL, Höhere Technische Lehranstalt, 4 classes of this type of school, they develop smart sport assistants. I will give you an example. If you play with a ball, okay, maybe you hear this ball if he's moving, but if he's lying on the floor and nothing happens, you cannot hear the ball. So this class decided to give put in electronic in this ball, and while moving the ball, it gave sound. While lying on the floor, it also gives a sound. So you can find this ball even as a blind person. So, and there has been a lot of other inventions, let's say, but I will come to the next thing. In the afternoon, as Sahar already said, I had my chess lesson. It was very fun. The last in the school year with 10-year-old kids. I'm really happy to have them and to play chess with them. Today, in the morning, I have been in a meeting of Zen. This is a European standardization group. And what do we do there? The main theme is tactile lettering in public area, Braille and raised letters. Hopefully this standard will be concluded sometimes. Well, now I'm here. After this, I will drink the coffee and then I'm free. Tomorrow in the morning, this concerns the EU, or especially the EBU, European Blind Union. There is a conference or a meeting concerning promoting Braille. It's called Living Braille, and we will discuss some things. In the afternoon, I come back to Austrian affairs. I'm a member of the so-called monitoring Ausschuss. This monitors how the rights of people with disabilities will be handled in Austria. And in the evening, I have a lecture at the Fachhochschule Technikum about IT, helping blind people. So these are my 3 days. I think that's enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. You're welcome to have a coffee. Whenever you want, just call me. I'll pick you up and we go have a coffee. Before giving the floor to Eleonore, I want to have a short introduction of a dear friend. She's the queen in the world of disability inclusion. It's Monica. We met yesterday, and I thought I'm the only crazy one. Then I discovered, oh, I have another crazy person.
Yes, you're too crazy.
So, yes, too crazy. We'll change the word so quick. Yes.
We
So
do our
please
best.
tell the story you told me yesterday, because this was very impressive.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to introduce you to the Diversity Bowl. I don't know if you know this event. This is a very special, the most barrier-free event, inclusive event in Austria, with 3,600 people in the whole town hall. It takes place on the 7th of September, and it has 5 stages, 300 artists, and everything is most barrier-free. There are deaf rappers, there's a deaf space, there's a blind bar. You can order your cocktail from blind barkeepers. You can get in touch with deaf people because we have communication angels. You have a band.
The Bristol?
You have a Bristol, there is a number on this number. This number that exists 4 times. So it's allowed to speak to other people. Do you have this number? And if you find your number partner, then you can come to us for a cocktail. So we want to bring people in touch and say, don't leave barriers. We want to remove these barriers. And we are working together with 120 different associations that diversity and inclusion can exist and live there. And it's not an evening to fight. It's an evening for living, to celebrate diversity. And I hope I will see you there at the Diversity Ball on 7th of September at the Vienna Town Hall. Thank you for audience.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you. I want to give the floor to Eleonore. Eleonore is the first secretary of the French embassy. She was born blind. She has 3 kids in the Lycée Français, and we met through a common friend who's the professeur of the lycée, Ms. Magali Durand-Assouli. And I have also the financial director and the special the inclusion coordinator. Eleonore is coming with her assistant, David, and with the dog, Olips, who's sleeping. He's very, I wish I can take him home for my other son. You have the floor. And Sotirius will be making like Q&A, sort of, to make it more vibrant. So.
Sorry, I'm just organizing. Okay, perfect. Now it's okay. Thank you. Thank you to all to be here. Thank you, Sahar, for organizing the event and all your colleagues. I'm very happy to be here to speak about Braille, to speak about being blind. And I'm very grateful to all the speakers who said very interesting and inspiring things and shared good practices and concrete projects. It's really nice to see all these taking place. So thank you for that. So I am Aliénor. I am blind. I am working at the French embassy. So I am a diplomat. I am first secretary, as Sarah said, the French embassy, and I am here since last August, and I will explain you shortly what is Braille and what it is, why it is very useful, and then I will be very happy to answer your questions, because I think the most interesting part of this event is to answer your questions. Braille has been invented by Louis Braille, who was born the 4th of January 1809 in Couvray, which is at about 40 kilometers from Paris. His father was working with leather, and when he was 3 years old, Louis Braille used his father's tools, and he wounded his right eye, and he lost this eye, and a few years after he lost the other one because it was infected. But he went to the school in Couvray during 3 years, and when he was 10 years old, he could access to the Institut Royal des Jeunes Aveugles in Paris, so the Royal Institute for Youth Blind. and he was remarked because he was very clever. He learned how to read the books. There was books for blind people, but it was written with normal writing, but which was tactile. So it was very long to read something, but he managed to learn how to write, to read, and also to write. But it was very, very difficult. And in 1821, he met someone who showed to the pupils a system with there was already dots, but it was for the soldiers to communicate in the dark, and it was they used syllables and sounds. And each sound had a dots combination, and it was not 6 dots, but at that time it was 12 dots, I think. And Louis Braille was very interested, but he told the man who was old and just he was like a teenager, and he told this old man, no, it doesn't work for blind people. And so the man was very not happy about that. That a very young man was so frank with him, but he worked the system. He improved the system. Louis Braille, not with the other man, because the other man didn't want to work with him, and he made this system of writing with only 6 dots, which was very much easier to read, because you can read it with just the end of your finger, and it worked very well. The Braille system was created in 1825, and a few years after, 2 years after actually, in 1827, the first book was written in Braille. It was a book made by Louis Braille about Braille. So it was for him very. He could see that his writing could be used by blind people. Unfortunately, he contracted tuberculosis when he was at this school. Then, after having been a pupil, he became a teacher there. But it was not very safe. The condition was not very good there, and he died because of tuberculosis. And Braille continued his way, and it's now, as the ambassador said, it was used. It has been used quite quickly in different countries, and it is still used. It's used. What is really incredible is that it's used it can be used with digital means of communication now, because I am actually reading in Braille, so and I don't use the paper. I use a special machine for that. So if you want to know what Braille is, it is like a box of 6 eggs. And you have 3 dots on the left, 3 dots on the right, and you make your letters from these dots. Each letter is made of a combination of dots, and it means that it's real alphabet. It's not, as I said, it's not syllables. It's real alphabet. So you can make the same mistakes when you write in Braille than when you write in a normal writing, it's quite the same way of writing that when Braille made it. So if you see the alphabet on the screen, I think you can see it. If you see the first 10 letters, then after it, it's the same combinations, but with one more dot on the left. and then with the two dots, right and left. So it's very clever, it's very logical, and it's quite easy to learn, I think, because, well, I learned it when I was a child, so I am not objective, but it's a very logical system, and it has been it is even used in Arabic or in Greek, or it's really clever. Braille is used for also music, for mathematics, as it has been said before. We have Braille books for in a lot of subjects. Everything can be transcribed in Braille. You have also the possibility to read with the digital Braille. It is Braille. You can connect the Braille display to a computer, and you can read what is written on the screen of the computer just with the Braille. At the moment, it's only one line, so you have to move from one line to another. It's a bit long, but it's a very. It can help when you want to read something complicated. Otherwise, if you don't use Braille, you can use a vocal system with a speech, so you can listen to what is written on the screen. But it's not the same. I mean, it's not really like reading, but it's hearing. It's different. Braille is very important to and has to be. To exist, even if there is this possibility to read with only listening to what is written on the screen. And a lot of people now, when they lose sight, they don't really learn Braille because they think it's possible to read another way, and it's I think the most important problem is for children, because some of them don't learn Braille anymore. They just learn how to use a computer without Braille, and I think it's not so. It's not. They don't know how to write anymore. I mean, Louis Braille created this system, and for us it was like a revolution, because we could access to reading and writing, and if we say Braille is it's okay, but it's very expensive to make books in Braille, and it takes time. And yes, but it's more than it's so important. It's more important than all these problems to keep Braille living and alive. And so I'm happy that European Blind Union and Zero Projects are working on that, because really it's very important. To give you some examples, I have 4 children, and I have written on books for them, so I can read the books to them when it's little books, because after they know how to read. But why they don't know how to read, I can read the stories in the evening for them. And I'm sure I couldn't do my job properly without Braille, because I know how to write. I can read in French, in English, in German, in Braille, and I saw a study saying that people who learn Braille, blind people who learn Braille, have more chance to make studies than those who don't. So. It's really vital, I think, for us. And I made my studies in Braille. I also had, of course, my parents helping me, and I couldn't make these studies without having them thinking it's possible, because sometimes you doubt, you are not sure anymore if you will succeed, because so many barriers are still there, or teachers saying, no, it's not possible, I don't want you in my class, or something like that. And then you have your parents helping, or teachers also who believe in you. So it's important to believe it's possible, and to give the means of success. And Braille is one of these means of success. Next year we will celebrate the bicentenary of Braille. So I really hope we will meet here again, because we have to celebrate this revolutionary writing. Thank you.
So Therios, go ahead. I know you're aching to ask questions. So.
Well, actually, maybe first we ask the audience if there is any question.
Thank you. And thank you so much for the session. My name is Jennifer. I work in the Corruption and Economic Crime branch at UNODC. I came today with a very pragmatic problem, seeking a solution. In 2020, we issued a report on how to address the gender dimensions of corruption. This is how corruption impacts women and men and others in society differently, different vulnerable groups and so on. We soon realized that the cases we found, the solutions we found, could also be applicable to others in society. We set about translating this publication. We translated it into several languages, and we thought, let's do something else. Let's translate it into Braille. So we did. But then came the problem. None of us knew Braille. How could we proofread a document which we don't actually read? And so we reached out to EPU. They're laughing because they said, we've never done documents in Braille. Talk to Geneva. So we reached out to Geneva. They said, oh, we have a printer. We can print it for you. I said, no, this is the beauty. There are digital Braille formats now, from what I've understood. And we would like to issue this in digital Braille. We want to make it available. And there we sort of came to an end. We've also been reaching out to national counterparts, and we have a volunteer in Kenya through the National Gender Equality Commission that also focuses on people with disabilities. But they said, no, but we just print it. I said, no, that's the whole idea. We don't want to print it. And so I came today to try to understand what there is in terms of availability of making this publication available to a wider audience than those who can read it on paper. And I wanted to thank the Zero Project and above all Madame Vappereau, because to a large extent you did answer my questions. I will come with further technical questions as to exactly what type of format one should use, because I had read about digital Braille readers, but we're still, trying to put this publication out there and be confident that it will actually do what we want, which is allowing the visually impaired to access that information. Thank you.
Can I answer? Can I answer you? So I'm Sahar. I know you because I used to work in UNODC, and I'm a member of the network. And sorry that I'll take the floor, but it's our conference management. Yes, we don't do Braille here, but we are. You can reach to our network, and we will try to find a solution together. If you have somebody who like a donor, extra budgetary fund, then you just talk to us, and then we try to find a solution.
We have it already. Yeah. It's been translated, but I just need to verify that it's correct.
Yes, okay, but in the future, we are here, we try to do something in-house and to help. Yeah. Yes, Jeroen. He's my son.
Okay. So, as she said, yes, I'm Jeroen. I'm the son of Sahar. And the adults next to me made me realize something. Why are the numbers and the letters in Braille the same?
Eleanor?
Okay. It's not really the same. There are two different ways of writing the numbers. I don't know why, but in French, in the French system, it's not the same. There is a dot in plus, and in English, there is a sign showing it's a number. But it's true. It's a bit strange to have the same signs in English. Yeah.
Great, yes. Thanks.
Yes, go ahead.
So, this is one reason Eleanor had mentioned. The other reason is with 6 dots, you have only 63 dot combinations. So we have 26 letters in the alphabet. We, in, let's say, normal Braille writing, we have no extra dot combinations for capital letters. We have also a sign that says, oh, this letter is capital. You must think of a capital letter. So 26 letters. In France, they have also the accented letters. And these accented letters, they are a lot. And then we have the interpunction, yeah, the full stop and the whatever, comma, and so on. So there is no room for 10 additional digits. And this is one disadvantage of Braille, because Braille, the letter and the number are similar. The same is in the Jewish alphabet. Also, the alpha yeah, these letters are the same as the digits. But Braille has also a big advantage with this, because you can extend for one letter or one sign or one symbol, you can put some Braille dot combinations together and say, well, this means this, let's say, number or digit or Braille music notation. I think nobody here thinks about this. The ink print music notation, you cited people has 350 different symbols in the music. Yeah. How can we do this with 63 dot combinations? So the music symbols, there are up to 3 dot combinations. Or the Japanese or Chinese with their 11,000 letters and so on. No problem for Braille, because they put some Braille dot combinations together and have this. Hopefully this helps.
Sorry to interrupt. So, Eric, it's the same in sign language. You can have, one sign which means 2 different stuff, depend on the context. So, yep.
Thank you, everyone, for this insightful conversation. My name is Roberta Falvo, and I work with Jennifer. In anti-corruption mostly, but I've been always very interested and passionate about inclusion. I have 2 questions. One is, well, first of all, how many blind people have access to these new technologies that you were talking about with, I don't know if I'm talking about it correctly, but the digital Braille readers. And then my other question is related to independent living. Recently, I was accompanying a blind person to a conference, and I had to fight quite hard to get her there, and she was the only person who was blind at the conference, the only person with disability at the conference, actually. And it was really a very beautiful, interesting journey for me to see to understand the barriers together with her. And one of them was that she doesn't think she can have a job because it would require her perhaps more money, or the salary would have to be higher because she might need a person to help her all the time. And she worries about the barriers that she might encounter in the workplace, etc. And I wanted to know, what do you think are the challenges or the main barriers to independent living, specifically for blind people, but also how maybe we can address them or what we can do about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. I have no idea how many people can have access to digital Braille display. I just know it's very expensive, so we have to find a solution to get it. In France, there is a fund that is. The firms or the administrations who don't have enough, who have less than 6% of disabled person in their staff, they have to pay, and the money is used to pay for adapting the jobs for the disabled people who are working. So yeah, I don't know how to find. I think the only way is to find organizations or something which can pay for this material, but it's really important and useful. I don't know how to say to this person, but we are lucky at I have to say in this 21st century, because we can have more opportunities than before because of access to computers. We can read by scanning documents. So I mean, it's possible. It's really possible to work and to have an interesting job. And yeah, it's hard to say something else. I don't know if Eric wants to say more, but yeah.
Dennis, you have something to answer? I mean, from our perspective, we are new. We're trying to help. Of course, the culture need to. Sorry, I'm making my bling bling, but it's my moment. So I think, and you stop me if I'm wrong, that the culture need to change everywhere. Yeah, we are used, like I've been told when I printed these, I paid €400 for 100 copies. Yeah. And I had to print them outside. I give the contact to Matthew from EPU. So now we know if somebody has a conference and you have the money, then we will print this for you. And I think the culture need to change. Like I've been told when I printed this, but why you're doing this? We don't have blind people here. Yeah, nah, so? And then what? I mean, if we think like, okay, I don't need sign language because I don't hire any. You know, I hear only with one ear, so that you know, and I'm still here and I'm functional, and I'm maybe better functional than other people. So when I say I don't need this because I'm fully bling bling, the queen of the world or the king of the world, it is not. We have to change our culture before asking the management to help and give money. We have to say, okay, this person, regardless of the disability, is fit to do the job. And then we have, between colleagues, and tell me if I'm wrong, we have to support each other. And then I will go to Dennis and say, Dennis, do you have something to give? And then maybe he will say yes. But if I, as a co-worker or a direct chief, say, nah, this is too much blah, blah, and headache for me, then why would I want Dennis or other, I'm talking about Dennis because he's our director. I mean, one has to change the culture of perspective of stuff, no?
Since you mentioned me so many times and put me on
I
the
love
spot
you, Dennis,
so
that's
times,
why.
I'll add something to this. I think what is going on in the organization is that, of course, I think we are, I mean, I know we have colleagues from HR here who can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think for the organization, right, we have I don't know whether we are still working on a disability strategy, or we have a disability strategy, right? And then I think it's always challenging to put this what you call it, some of this inclusivity policy into practice, right? So in that context, I would say that I'm prepared to look at it on a case-by-case basis rather than having something like some blanket policy or blanket position out there. For example, the example that Jennifer, right, gave about the publication of a report in Braille. I think that's a very good example, and And I think we certainly need to find solution, right? And it's not even the question of availability of fund, right? But that's something that we need to find a solution. And I think the same would apply for hiring or recruitment. I think we are promoting hiring people with disabilities. And I know there are implications, there are what you call accommodation, right? That needs, accommodation in the context of disability that needs to be provided. But once we get there, I don't think the organization will come up with a prescriptive policy. But once we get there, I think we can certainly discuss and identify an appropriate solution for that particular situation. I'll leave it there because I don't think I'm in a position to be more specific at this time. Thank you.
I think at this time we should just be more open towards each other and accept each other. And I had, for example, my sign language teacher and my friend Attila, who's here. And of course, many of us didn't deal at all with deaf people because everybody's in a bubble. So when I present to my colleague who was going to the gym, my teacher, and she said, hi, and then I said, no, he's deaf, and she then talked louder, and I said, he's deaf, and then she switched to German, I said, he's deaf, and then she just left. I mean, it's okay to make mistakes, it's okay, we should not be afraid, we should make mistakes so we learn, but we have to understand and to educate ourselves before, for me, saying to the management, it's your bad, it's your fault, I'm the poor one and you're the bad. We should educate ourselves, and then I think it will be like a, snowball effect. No?
Sahar, may I?
Yes.
It was a wonderful example that you brought right now, where your colleague switched into another language. I have a question to bring up, but yes, because I just realized when Eleanor was speaking, that one hidden star here was not visible at all. So, Eleanor, I will switch now to your microphone. And I will move it to the side, and I will put the nameplate away, because now the camera will show the hidden star. So, Eleanor has here something which is incredibly interesting. I hope you can still hear me. I'm coming from the world of IT. This is my professional background. And when I saw this thing the first time, actually I didn't even realize it immediately the first time we met and we were speaking, and after a while I saw that thing and I asked her, okay, what is this thing? Actually, this is a mini computer without a display, similar to a mobile phone. And you saw now the wonderful things that Eleanor told us, and without seeing this thing, you had no idea that actually she was having some written notes that she was, reading and continuing, and because otherwise, how would you be able to keep all these numbers in your mind, about the life of Braille? Yes. So this little device actually is a computer with a little line here. It's probably not visible now on the screen, where it's popping up Braille language. And Eleanor has her hands on it, so she can read it. And at the same time, she has a lot of buttons. Wonderful. Thank you, colleagues, for going. Now we have a close-up of the device, and now we really see it. So now maybe you can explain it a little bit, because, seeing this thing, now I started understanding there was a question, for independent living. This is a wonderful interface. So maybe you can a little bit speak about it.
Yeah. So this is a kind of note taker. It's a pad actually. It's similar to a computer, a very small little computer. You can read Braille on this display here. This line. It moves when I change the line. The dots are going up and down, and there is here the Braille keyboard, which means that if I press one button, it will be one dot, and so if I want to make a letter, I press all the buttons what I want to make the letter with. So it's very useful to read and write, but it can be also connected to a computer, and you can transfer information. It's like a USB stick. You can take your documents. If I'm working on something on the computer, I can take it. Or if I have made I've written something after a meeting, I can transfer it on my computer and send it by email. I could also use email with this machine, but I don't, because I don't know how to do that. So, but it could work. And you can also scan with this. You have here a camera here, and you can scan to read a document. It can be recognized like a document when it's you have first the image and then it's changed to letters. Yeah, so it's working with Android, you know, so it's very it's normal. So yeah, that's it.
So actually, the first time we met, because Eleanor gave us the pleasure and came already weeks ago, where we had a little discussion with Sahar together in the cafeteria about, we were planning this event, and we were sitting there on the table.
Let me take over. And so Tyrios was looking. No, I will just say, because you will not say this about yourself. He was like a little kid. I never saw him. He's always with the Sako, very serious. And he was so much, wow, how does it work? He was like a kid. And I just wished I had a picture to continue. Go ahead.
Yes, okay, that was not the main thing I wanted to say. I was really impressed. I was really impressed by it. But the way it happened was we were sitting together, we were discussing the event, and Olips was sitting underneath, and I had completely forgotten him because he's such a wonderful dog. He is extremely professional. He disappears during the meetings. So we were discussing, Eleanor was sitting in very elegant style, like we always sitting, we were discussing everything. And after a while, I started noticing that actually she had her hands on this device. And then I asked her what the thing is. She explained, and then I said, wait, you were keeping notes the whole time of whatever I was saying. So it is just incredible what is being done with it, and I was just impressed. And this is a wonderful example that colleagues can find their ways of being fully part of our work environment, and even more than that, just with the right tools. And yes, that's like Sahar said, I'm deeply impressed, and I wanted to show that a little bit, and I'm happy that the colleagues could make the close-up. So thank you from my side. Sahar?
I think Attila has a question, so maybe Monica can help.
He wanted to ask to see the device, but you have shown us the device. Thank you.
I have a question. How hard was to get the dog in this building?
Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
How hard was to get the dog into the building?
No problem. No problem at all.
No problem.
No. They know it's an assistant working dog, dog for the blinds. But here in Vienna, sometimes I have people who don't know, but it's the same in everywhere. I mean, so I just have to explain very calmly to remain patient, because sometimes it's a bit annoying when people tell you you have to go out of the supermarket because you are with your dog. No, so but it's okay. They know here in Austria, like in all the European countries, there is a law saying that guide dogs and assistant dogs have to be admitted in every public places. So it's okay.
Actually, when you organize a meeting, you need to inform security in advance that you have a blind visitor with the assistant dog. And then, of course, when you give the details, maybe you know how to do this. But you have to tell security, and we have a security colleague who's a member of our group, Frederick. If you want anything, you can reach to us later, but you have to announce the dog to security. And anyhow, when for example, yesterday when we organized the meeting for the Austrian Sign Language, and we have some deaf participants, of course, we informed the security with the name next to the name. You know, when you make the visitor request, that this and this person are deaf, so they don't embarrass themselves and they talk, so they can just write the paper. So yeah, it's just your approach, how you organize your meeting. And I think Vadim has a question. Vadim is the chief of Russian section, and I love him so much because every time he passed by my door, we're neighbors, he asked me how James is. James is my autistic son. He always asks me about James. He always gets me chocolate, which I eat for James, and he's always very kind. Go ahead, Vadim, please.
Thank you, Zahar. First of all, I wanted to thank the organizers for this outstanding event. It's really very informative and very, very important, I think. I have, in fact, 3 questions that are interrelated. The first one is, I wonder how many blind and visually impaired people are there in Austria? And the second one is, I wonder how much this device costs. And the third one, to what extent is it available or can be received or bought or by those visually impaired people.
So maybe, Eric, you tell us how many people are blind and visually impaired in Austria?
Yes, I can answer this question, but I cannot give you an exact number. Because how can we get this data from where? Eurostat, the European statistic branch, blames Austria again and again that the data about people with disabilities are not good enough. We, of course, in the organizations for the blind and partially sighted people, we have our calculations, and you can say, first, what is the definition of blind? How or partially sighted? So in Austria, you get money if you have problems with your eyes. It's called in Austria Pflegegeld. That's not a good expression for blind, but because we don't need a nurse. Well, the organizations calculate, and there are, we think that there are about 300,000 people which cannot correct all their problems which they have with their eyes by using, let's say, a glass or whatever. Yeah, so 300,000 people will, let's say, suffer. Yeah.
And Eleanor, about the device, how much does it cost, you think, and how to get this, how to buy this device?
I'm not sure because I bought it I got it in Paris. So and the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs paid it for me. So and I'm happy to have this help from the ministry because well, it was not so easy, I have to say, to get it because I had already something to use with my computer in the office, but it's bigger. And they told me it's enough. You have one, you cannot have two. It's like you ask too much. I said no, sorry, it's not the same way of using it, and it was not so easy to make them understand. But I won, and it's expensive. This one, there are not so many Braille cells. I don't know. It's 20 cells, but it's at least 2,000 euros. No, 2,000 euros. 2,000 euros. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't say more precisely because I don't know here the price or how. And I could buy it by myself. if I have money enough, you can go to the place where it's sold, but here I don't know how you can get it. I'm sorry.
May I add something? It's quite easy to, not quite easy, but it's easy. The problem is one of these modules, one of these Braille cells costs about 70 euro. So if you have 20 cells, then you have 1,400 euros. But these are only the Braille cells. Yeah. So, well, the 20, I think it will cost, well, 5,000 euros, and the 40 maybe 7,000 euros, and the 80 cell Braille display, let's say 12,000 euros or something like that. In our school, we of course buy every year these cells, these Braille displays, but they won't get cheaper. That's the problem really for the poor countries. There are only three companies in the world who produce these Braille cells. And you can imagine they won't lower the price.
Perhaps I'd like to give an imperfect answer to Vadim's question, and Erich, correct me if I'm wrong here. I mean, to your question, I think it's around 3.4% of Austria's population, through 300,000 people which are blind. Plus minus, the data, as Erich said, is imperfect. But just to give you an answer to your question, but I think also I think the approach of asking how many people are blind is one which tends to lead down to the wrong road, in my opinion, because we're an aging population, and this is always perhaps unwelcome news to some, but we're all going to acquire disability in our lifetime. And the question is, do we want to put in measures which ensure that we have a more resilient and innovative and kind and empathetic society when we acquire the disability, or do we want to wake up having acquired a disability and understand, okay, well, now I see what you mean by barriers in society. But the good news is all of you have probably the biggest assistive technology advancement in human history in your pockets, which is the cell phone. Look at the accessibility features in your cell phone. I'll give you an example of one of our former awardees, Living Dignity for the Blind in Myanmar. They simply went, and when I say innovative work, this is what the innovation was. They simply went to rural and remote mountain villages in Myanmar, pulled up the accessibility features on the phone, and illustrated to people who are visually impaired and blind what their phone could do. We're talking about smartphones which cost 50, 60, 70, 80 euros in Southeast Asia. And these blind users, through understanding the accessibility measures, were able to program themselves, for example, applications which automatically scan banknotes and tell them which banknotes they have in front of them. They developed this themselves. They put this in the App Store themselves, and over 50,000 blind users downloaded this in Myanmar themselves. So having blind developers is not something which is unheard of. It is simply utilizing the technology that is there. Now, coming back to the point of imperfect, the smartphone won't solve all of life's tasks, but it is already at a technological stage where, and to the question beforehand also, it can ensure independent life. Another application is called Be My Eyes, global application that connects sighted volunteers such as yourself. All of you can go home tonight and download Be My Eyes, where you will be connected with a visually impaired or blind person if your language preferences align, and if that person, coming back to independent living, decides, I'm in a situation now where I would like to require your assistance. So they call you through video call and ask you, look, I'm in front of the spices stand, I'm making a paella tonight, where's the saffron? And there's a line of 20 spices, and you as a sighted volunteer will say, third to the left, bon appetit. And I just would like to finish maybe on two anecdotes which I think really illustrate well also the aspect of independent living and how often visually impaired and blind people are, you could almost say, ahead of the curve. A good friend of mine, Jakob Rosin, I was fortunate to meet through work. He's Estonian, and his biggest issue working independently as a business owner is that he will digitally sign documents and send them to sighted people in Europe. And 90% of the time they will reply and say, Jakob, you didn't sign the PDF. And he's like, no, I did sign the PDF. You didn't see it because my digital signature cannot be forged, whereas your signed signature can be forged. So there are many ways in which, again, utilizing technology, people, especially blind and visually impaired, people can live independent lives. I think to Tahar's point, it's one of mindset, and I think also virtual signaling by highlighting, we want you to work here, you have a career path here, you will open up yourselves to persons with disabilities, not only considering a career at the United Nations. And this reminds me also of another point. There's, for those of you interested, if you ever are walking up and down Marie-Hilfer-Straße here in Vienna, there is a large McDonald's where all of the employees know Austrian Sign Language. And we showcased this once during our conference 2 years ago, and one of the questions by someone who has been working in the disability space for many decades was, how did you market this? How did the hard of hearing and deaf community find out about this? And the franchisee owner said, I did zero marketing. I simply hired my first deaf colleague. He was so impressed that everyone amongst his peers, amongst his employees, knew Austrian Sign Language, that he went out and told the community, you won't believe it, you know who the best deaf employer is in town? McDonald's. And it spread like wildfire. And I think this really illustrates, if you want to do a good job, hire persons with disabilities, provide those accommodations, and they will be your best advocates that you will have.
Thank you, Robin. Any questions, or should we go have a coffee? So, yes.
Hi, my name is Yu Qing. I'm from the Chinese translation section in the IAEA, and thank you for all the organizers for your remarks, and also especially for Eleanor for introducing to us this wonderful writing system. And I think this writing system is quite logical. It's kind of like Moscow's. It's self-explanatory when I see the picture, because I didn't know a thing about this writing system, but I have been always interested in learning some, and after seeing the picture, I think I can get some gist of this system. So my question is, and I'm sorry if you have mentioned it in your remark, I just want to get more details. So how can you learn another language in Braille system? So so I know maybe there is a Chinese version, there is a Japanese version, and I know that, for example, sign languages have many dialects. So in China, I have signed up for a sign language course when I was a sophomore in university, and I know from my teacher that there are so many dialects in the sign language in China that people cannot even understand each other. And even the thing is so absurd that sometimes those Chinese people with hearing or speaking impairments, they cannot understand the sign language on our national television. They cannot understand the so-called standard sign language. So I just want to know, because you have mentioned that you can read in Braille in French, German, and also English. So there are differences in Braille for each language. So I just want to know how you can learn different languages in Braille. Thank you.
So Braille is an alphabet. It means that in all the Latin languages, it's the same alphabet. There are a few differences, like some punctuation signs of the digits are sometimes not the same, but when you know that, you can read. I learned Braille in France, but I can read English or German with the same Braille. It's the same writing, the same letters. It's different in other alphabets, but it's the same as when you learn a new language, which has another alphabet. You have to learn it in any case. So I don't know if I answered.
So, if I understand correctly, it will be just you read it in your Braille in your own language, and then the explanation how the foreign language is, and that's how you learn it. Is it maybe just too simple approach?
I mean, it's not. It's like you when you learn how to read and write, and then you learn a new language, and you use the letters with this new language. And you just have to learn the words and the way to pronounce and the way each letter is pronounced itself. So, yeah.
So before we have our coffee break, I have to make my famous picture. So please be kind, come here to the front so we make my selfie. Thank you. And thank you all for being here. Thank you so much.